We are doing Frayer Friend. I'm just going to give us a couple quick things to think about with it. So our concept for today is going to be minority rights. So remember, in this upper box, that is where you put the definition. You already have the definition for minority rights in two spots. It is either in your visual vocab or it is on the vocab handout. Okay? Now, remember, if you did your job on Tuesday, the characteristics should be done already too, because you should have highlighted those 5 keywords. So for the characteristics box, what you're doing is you're going to write down those 5 keywords that you have already identified. Examples. You need to have 4 examples of minority rights. You need to have 3 good non-examples. So remember, a good non-example, think of it in terms of a test. If you were coming up with a test question, a non-example would be a good distractor answer. Okay? Yes?
Is that the same thing with minority rules?
Sorry, yes, this should be. No, minority rights and minority rules are different, but this should be minority rules. We will learn about minority rights a little bit later in this unit because that is a separate thing, okay? So for our vocab, we do need to know both. Thank you for pointing that out. It should be minority rules, okay? So you are going to work on this independently. You will have about 5 minutes to work on your Frayer Friend. Actually, I'll give you a little bit longer. We'll go with 7 minutes to work on our Frayer Friend. Okay? Do not start discussing it yet. We will do that later together. That's going to be our next activity. Any questions on what I'm asking you to do with Frayer Friend?
I already did it.
Okay? All right, you can go ahead and get started on that. Okay, so you have some time to work on your Frayer Friends individually. Even if you didn't get all the way finished, that's fine, because you will have a chance to kind of work with your group to work through it. So what's going to happen is everybody is going to read what they have. So everybody's going to read their Frayer Friend. You don't have to read the definition because everybody's definition is going to be exactly the same. You are going to read your 5 key features because you might have highlighted different words from somebody else. You are going to read your 4 examples of minority rules. You are going to read your 3 non-examples of minority rules. Every person in your table group is going to do that. Okay? This sheet that I gave you, this is a academic sentence starter sheet. Okay? So basically with this paper, it teaches us how to communicate in a professional, academic way, right? Like if you agree with somebody and you're with your friends, you might be like, real, clock it. That doesn't work in a professional setting, okay? If you disagree with somebody, you can't be like, bro, that was stupid, in a professional setting. So this gives you different ways to start your sentences depending on what your goal for communicating is. So for example, if you want to disagree with somebody, you would use one of the sentence starters in this first box, okay? And that could be a way to respectfully disagree, okay? Now, let's say that one of your table partners, when they share, let's say that they had a good point and you made a point that was very similar and you wanted to share what you had. We would not be like, ooh, same. You would say, I want to expand on your point about minority rules. Okay? I want to expand on your point about the job of the Senate. The third one, reflect or paraphrase. We use this if you need to understand what like the person said something and you want to make sure you got it right. You want to make sure you're understanding what they're saying. So reflect or rephrase is when you're trying to make sure you're understanding what your shoulder partner or table partner said. Okay? Clarify is kind of the opposite of that. Clarify is if you say something, you're like, ooh, I bet that didn't make much sense. Let me explain it some more. Right? Summarizing. Well, we've talked a lot about what summarizing means. But I will let you know, fair warning. Once you and your group have shared, you are going to come up with one example and one non-example that you are going to share with the class. And your one example or non-example, you will use one of these sentence starters. So you would either say, we are saying that, I don't know. We are saying that Coach Andy Reid is an example of minority rule because even if Patrick Mahomes wants to do a different play, the coach says no and Patrick Mahomes has to listen. Now, you do not get to use that example. That's my example. Okay? Managing conflicts or opinions. These are more ways to make sure that we don't turn into people arguing and screaming at each other, right? So, if you want to understand why a person feels the way they do, you might say something like, tell me more about why you think that Mizzou is better than KU, right? Yeah, you're right, it is obvious because it's not. Border war game. So that's your claim is that Mizzou is better because they won the border war game. That's a fair claim. That is a fair claim. I would argue that KU is better because you got to listen for. That's my claim. KU is better. Here's my evidence. Because your social studies teacher graduated from KU, and you would not know me, and we would not be having this conversation if it wasn't for that. So that's my claim. All right. Now, in reality, as long as you are getting yourself ready for college, career, or military, all of them are great choices. So it's just fun to talk about. So again, this sheet, I want you actually using these sentence starters and practicing having academic professional conversations. Okay? So once again, everybody is going to share what they said, and then you're going to talk about it using this sheet. You are going to have 10 minutes for this. I will give you a 3-minute warning at 7 minutes. At 7 minutes, your group needs to start figuring out what is your example and your non-example that you are going to share with everybody. So that way when time is up, we're ready to move right into that. Any questions on what we're doing? Okay, our lights are going to be purple, so we already know what our auto champ settings are for that. What should our voice level be at? 1. Remember, we don't like a 2 when everybody's talking because even though it's a good inside voice level, if everybody's at a 2, it's too loud. So we should be at a 1. All right. Ready? Oh, question. Yeah, what you got? Ready, set, go. Of your classmates' time and the effort that they put into coming up with their examples and non-examples. Okay? So remember, each table group is going to share one example and one non-example. You should already know what that's going to be. You should already know who is going to share. Okay? So, if your table group is not sharing, you are looking through your question stems to either agree or respectfully disagree with the table group. And we'll just go around. Actually, no. I am going to write down a number between 1 and 100. The table group that comes close gets to pick which other table group starts off. What's the number?
47.
41. What's the number?
67.
67. That didn't take long. What's the number? What's the number?
89.
89. And actually, you'll be working on this, so you're good. 50. 76. 78. So that's 6 away. What did you all say again?
89. 67.
Okay, this was actually pretty close. So the number was 84. So, no, because you all said 89, and you all said what? 78, yeah, so you came close without going over. So which group is going to go first? Table group over here. Give us your example and your non-example.
Our example, president, or non-example, teachers.
So an example of minority rules would be president. A non-example, they said, would be teachers. Reactions, do we agree? Do we respectfully disagree? Do we need clarification? Yes.
Tell me more about why you think that teachers are non-examples.
Because they are a small group of people, but they have less power than a principal or superintendent.
Okay. Very nice dialogue. I would say, honestly, I want to expand on the point Aria made, because while teachers do have to report to principals or superintendent or school board, teachers can also be an example of minority rule, because let's think about inside this classroom. If everybody in this class was like, Mr. Seymour, we don't want to have a quiz today. And I was like, we're doing a quiz today. Even if every one of you votes to say, no, we're not having a quiz, are we having that quiz? Yeah. If everybody is like, Mr. Seymour, I think we're ready for a pop quiz today. Please give us a quiz. And you all vote to do a quiz. And I'm like, no, I'm not wanting to give a quiz. Are you going to have a quiz that day? No, but I think that's a great point, because teachers can be examples or non-examples. And you said the president was an example of, so if it's like if you both are clocking that T, does that mean neither of you get to clock it? Is it like a positive and a positive? Okay, there you go. All right, now I will say, and this is the important part, so I do need us to kind of be focused in on this. This is the important part. Yes.
What if we rebelled against our government?
Well, I mean, if we rebelled against our government,
Yeah, but Mr. Seymour
quiet. So you asked a question, which I'm going to assume is like you were asking in good faith, being kind of serious. So I'm going to answer it that way. But we do need to make sure that we are not talking, right? Because we have stuff we need to do. I do want to, and this will also kind of maybe tie into the other thing, because you okay? And this is why I tell us all the time, 4 feet on the ground. So we also said president was an example of minority rule. Okay? Now remember, the way our government is set up, we will learn a little bit more about checks and balances. Part of the reason we have checks and balances is so that the president does not become a minority ruler. Because we give the president a lot of power, don't we? Yes, the president is the commander-in-chief of the military. The president can veto laws. The president, and notice how a lot of these terms that you're hearing with our government are coming from ancient Rome, right? The president, through executive orders, can make things that are almost as strong as laws, but not quite. We give the president a lot of power, no matter who the president is. Because of that, that's why we have checks and balances, to make sure the president does not become a minority ruler, okay? So I definitely see what you were thinking with that. But the way our government in the United States is set up, that's the exact reason why we have civic duty, why we have majority rule, why we have checks and balances, so that way the president does not abuse their power and become a minority ruler, okay? But I love the way we're thinking about that. If we choose to try to overthrow the government, well, that's part of the reason why we have an electoral system. That's why we vote, because if we don't like what's going on with our government, instead of having to resort to bloodshed, we can vote out the people who are not following the will of the citizens, right? Now, if you stop and think about it, we wouldn't have a country if the people in the 1700s did not rebel against their government, the King of England. But you'll learn about that across the hall next year with Mr. Bennett. All right, so table group here. What table's going next? Hurry, hurry, hurry. All right, guys, here. What was your example? What was your non-example?
Moms and kids.
So an example of minority room would be moms or parents. A non-example would be kids. Any thoughts on that? All right, what group is going next? Did you have a thought, or what you got?
Tell me more about why you think that moms and kids are an example and not example.
Because moms brought them to the earth.
So I think your example was good, not going to lie. Your evidence and your reasoning doesn't really match up. So we're not going to say that because that is not the professional way to say it. We can agree or disagree respectfully. So let's think if we can think through that a little bit better, because that is a very good example and non-example, but that reasoning makes no sense. And you all are a whole group, so you could help them with that. Because the parents have the power over the kids. If the parents tell the kids to do something, that is what gets done, right? So thank you for that, even though you didn't want to say it on the mic. Is that wait?
I didn't know if it was good or not.
I agree.
Right. So what I'm hearing you say is that parents are an example of minority rule, because even if all the kids want to do something and the parents want to do something else, what the parents want happens. Awesome.
I wanted to expand on your point about moms being, was it example or non-example?
Example.
About moms being an example, because they can choose if you want to be on this earth or not, technically.
Okay. Thank you. So what group is going next? All right. Table group over here in the corner. What was your example? What was your non-example?
Our example was generals and our non-example was military.
Ooh, example of minority rule would be a general. Non-example would be the military as a whole. Cool. Thank you. Any questions on that? Awesome. Oh, you had one? Use your sheet. Or are you good?
Actually, never mind.
Okay. What group's going next? Group over here. What you got?
So we have for an example, we have a senator vote, and for non-example, we what was our non-example?
I don't know, dude. You didn't talk to me about any of this. That's crazy.
It's crazy work. It is all on recording, too.
Oh.
I'm not involved with this at all. I didn't even.
Brother, why are you searching up the nasty patty?
And then a non-example.
So
Yeah, give us a minute.
it sounds to me like what you're saying is we did not appropriately do this assignment when we were supposed to. You would be partially excused from that because a teacher called you out. Saying that this is not your fault doesn't work on a team, does it, basketball players? No. Can you be like, oh, I was being good in class, so I don't have to run? Does that usually work? No. So, or football player, right? Or wrestlers. All right, so what group is going next? So this group has not gone, and so Jakayla, or she is exempt from this because she's working on stuff because she was absent. So this group,
Yeah, let's send them.
Send them.
all right, what you all got?
It's me.
Our example is Zeus, and then our non-example is the government.
Okay. So example is Zeus, the whole government. Cool. For what country?
I don't know.
America.
USA.
Okay, so because that would be, so let's see, I would say, it sounds like what you are saying is that the government in the United States is a non-example of minority rules.
Yeah.
Cool. Because if we stop and think about it, if you were to pick like a dictatorship, that would be minority. So you have to say what government. So USA government would be good. Okay. And then I think we should just have one group left. Is that correct?
Put the hand down.
Okay. Yes.
I want to challenge that point because the government is smaller than the entire population of the United States. Therefore, it is a smaller group, and they do hold all of the power.
And I would like to object to their Zeus statement. Zeus was not actually the main ruler. They actually had meetings and stuff, and they talked about stuff. So that is not a good example of.
So you were doing so good till the very end of that. Now, would you all like to respond?
Yes, I would.
Okay, we are going to respond using managing conflicts and using respectfully challenging.
So for Zeus, what Zeus would say, like in the Iliad when we read it in the scene, like when Hera was there and stuff, what Zeus said, that's what happened. Like they listened to him when he was like, "Everyone sit down, let's eat food," or something like that. I don't remember what he said, but yeah. And then the government, there's too much people in the government. Is not a minority rule. That minority rule means small group. Oh wait, I need to read my paper. Oh, can you let me finish? I would like to challenge that point a little bit and say that minority rule means a small group. The government is huge. Do you know how much people are in the government?
Okay. So we're not going to turn this into a whole debate, but I will give you a chance to respond, and then I will finish it up. Yes.
Okay, let me hold this for a second.
Oh, he's holding it. It's serious.
Okay. Okay. It doesn't matter if the government is still like I don't know, like.
What is our?
Use the sheet.
Okay. Respectfully challenge or disagree. I want to challenge that point a bit. It doesn't matter if the government is like bigger than the population, like smaller than the population of the US or something. If you have a government of 10 people and you have a citizen group of 11 people, then that makes the government still a minority rule. So I say it is a minority rule.
Okay, I'll say Genoa really quickly, and then we are going to move on because we're not going to spend the whole time on this. But I will have the last word on this because this classroom is minority rule.
Okay. I don't know how I say this on here, but I was just going to help them out because, okay, Zeus.
I want to expand upon your point about.
Okay, I want to expand upon your point about Zeus being an example of minority rules because I actually think he is. Because when he wasn't hit Hera, all the men thought they could do that and they could talk to their wives like that.
Okay, so we've got some good examples and some good evidence on both sides. Thank you for discussing responsibly. Give yourselves 3 claps. That was the most, you know how to count. Okay. So, let me say a couple of things that might kind of help us out with as far as minority rule in the government. In the United States, part of the way that we set up our government, and again, this conversation is stuff that we could be having on our grapes chart for politics, because so much of the way that we run our government comes from either directly things that Rome and Greece did or making small tweaks. So, our government, yes, the governing bodies, the senators, the House of Representatives, the executive branch is much smaller than the population of the country. We've got, what, 300 million people here, and we've got 535 people who make federal laws, right? However, the way our government is set up is actually majority rules. And the reason is because since we live in a republic, citizens have the final say, because if lawmakers continue to make laws or do things that citizens do not like, we have ways to either get them out of office or they can be criminally liable for that. In a true minority rule situation, the will of the majority is kind of ignored. So, if the United States were a true minority rule, and senators made laws or passed laws that the citizenry didn't like, citizens wouldn't be able to vote them out of office. Citizens or the president would not be able to veto that bad law. So, we need to understand for minority rule, it's not just that the small group has power, it's that the big group has no, not only doesn't have a say, but they don't have a way to fix it if the minority group does something they don't like. Okay? So does that difference make sense? So like with your parents, doesn't matter if you've got 9 brothers and sisters and all of you agree and your parents say, nope, we're not going to dinner. Like, what your parent says goes and you can't do anything about it. Even if a small group of people makes the rules, if the large group, if the majority has something they could do about it, then that's not minority rule. Does that difference make sense? Yes. Because that's a huge difference. And so for like Zeus, like you were saying, the Council of the Gods of Mount Olympus, they did meet, they did discuss, but ultimately if Zeus wanted something to happen, it was going to happen, and they couldn't do anything about it because like Zeus said, remember what happened the last time you tried to stop me and I, threw you, and remember that whole thing with Hephaestus and how, so that's the big way, no thank you ladies, that is the big way to determine minority rule or not. It's not just that a small group makes decisions, it's that the big group, the majority, doesn't have a way to fix it. They cannot do anything about it. If the big group can do something about it, it is not minority rule. Yeah.
Can I just call them witches and burn them at the stake?
Well, there would need to be 13 of them to have a whole coven, and I only see 3, so no, not right now. Okay. All right, so I love that conversation that we had. Did all of our groups go, I feel like? Yeah, no. Okay, I was going to say, I think we have one more group, so go for it, ladies. What you got? Hold on, wait. Let me get over here.
For examples, we put we put government officials, and for non-examples, we put a vote where the least amount of votes win.
Awesome. Yeah, vote where the least amount of votes wins. That would be an example of minority rule. Awesome. Good job. Anybody have any comments on that one? Fantastic. Oh.
We didn't do anything to you.
Well, it's okay because it's not doing something like we are all here to learn, so it's not like being vindictive or something. Yes, what is your question or your clarification?
How do I ask them to like say more?
Expand.
So that would be, you could probably do a let me make sure I understand you.
Let me make sure I understand you. Can you say more about your non-example, please?
All right. Can you please say more about your non-example?
Our Queen Arya would like to explain our evidence.
So for government officials, we were thinking like CEO and like president because the president is like like the CEO of the government, and then like CEOs of like companies and stuff because they get to have like the last say in decisions, and then for a vote where the least amount of votes win for non-examples, that is not usually like an example, but like if someone were to like put that on a test, then they'd probably pick
It's a good distraction.
It's a good distractor.
Okay. Thank you. All right. So, yes, I appreciate again the way that we were able to try to use our sheets and worked really hard to use our sheets and be respectful even when we disagreed. I thought we did a good job with that. I thought you all did a good job of learning some stuff. On Monday, when Miss Lamb was here, you started doing a gim kit. It was that Fishtopia gim kit. that had the vocabulary words. I am going to give you about 15 minutes to finish that if you have not. Okay? If you have finished that GIM kit and you feel like you need to study the vocab some more, remember you have the Quizlet deck, you can do the GIM kit game again. In 15 minutes, I'm going to get us onto quizzes, so that way we can start working through our diagnostic quiz.
Have another mint, please.
By using my chair, so I sit next to you. And just
I have one more minute.